Part 23. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 222. The war against the Kybri civilization went extremely smoothly. Within a month, the angels wiped out almost all the invasion fleets of the Kybri civilization and the Megara civilization. In addition, we followed the information in the battleships of the two civilizations and conducted reverse engineering to find the locations of the home stars of the two civilizations. The moment the Sky-Blade fleet arrived at the home planet of the Kybri civilization, the Kybri people surrendered to Binghua in an extremely spineless manner in order to prevent their home planet from being destroyed in the war with the angels. The war between the angels and the Kybri civilization came to an anticlimactic end. Even if war weapons such as the sky-killing mecha appeared in the middle, it would not have any impact on the outcome. For the first time, Binghua felt that it was a bit of a fuss for the Angel King to be so close to the battlefield. She stayed in the Sky Blade as a mascot throughout the war and never made a single move. Binghua looked down at the nervous-looking senior officials from Kybri who came to negotiate, and said calmly, "Your invasion of the Angel Nebula is unforgivable. I only have one question to ask you now. Did you act spontaneously or were you ordered by something? This is related to the survival of your civilization. You must think clearly before answering me." Binghua's tone was not harsh and her voice was extremely pleasant, but the current governor of Kybri civilization below was a man with thick hair and extremely nervous. "My noble and beautiful Queen of Angels, please forgive us for our offense to Angel Nebula." The Cabrine Archon below first lowered his posture and said a lot of good words, full of gorgeous words to praise the angels. As for what he was thinking, no one knew. It wasn't until a trace of impatience appeared on Binghua's face that the civilized governor of Kybri stopped and started talking about the business that Binghua was really interested in. "A few months ago, a group of powerful male angels visited our civilization and reached an agreement with some of our top leaders. On the condition of attacking and harassing the Angel Nebula, they provided our civilization with the technology to utilize physical light energy and several advanced alloy formulas." As he spoke, the Cabrine Archon took out an electronic tablet file and respectfully raised it above his head and handed it forward. Binghua didn't make any other moves, she just lowered her eyes to look at the tablet, and the next moment she read the stored data directly from the air. After a few seconds, Binghua finished reading the data, frowned slightly and murmured in a voice that only he could hear, "I didn't expect to find traces of Huaya in this remote corner. The information in the file is that a few months ago, a group of male angels approached the top leaders of the Kybri people. The armor styles of those male angels were very familiar to Binghua. They were exactly the same as those of Huaya's legions." This was the tablet information presented by the Capri Archon. Of course, Binghua didn't have the time to look at the rest of the list of Capri people who cooperated with male angels such as Huaya. "I have already read the information you handed in, so what price should you Cabrians pay for your invasion of the Angel Nebula, surrender or destruction?" When Binghua spoke, Archon Kybri could not help but tremble in his heart even though he had been mentally prepared for it. "The world in front of us seems to be divided into two halves. One half is the freedom and dignity of the Kybri people, and the other half is the continuation of survival and civilization." Binghua didn't put much pressure on them. In fact, she didn't care about the surrender or destruction of the Kybri people. She only cared about the angel civilization. As for why they didn't just destroy the Kybri people, firstly, the consequences of doing so would make future angel civilizations be labeled as civilization destroyers, and secondly, they could recruit a younger brother to explore the way for them. The surrender that Binghua refers to is not as simple as handing over resources and recognizing the angel civilization as the main civilization, and the angels providing certain protection to it, but the kind that completely recognizes the angel civilization as the king, and even charges into battle for the angels when necessary. Time passed slowly like this, and Binghua did not urge him. Instead, he called up the flaming sword model and continued the upgrade work in the recent period. On behalf of the entire Kybrei civilization, I am willing to surrender to the angel civilization and offer everything of our civilization. I only ask the Queen of Angels to forgive the crimes committed by our civilization and spare the 4 billion residents living on the planet Kybrei. After saying all this, the Archon of Kybrei civilization knelt down directly on the ground, his head buried deep between his hands on the ground, waiting for Binghua's final judgment. Get up, I don't like this backward and ancient etiquette. Also congratulations on saving your civilization. I hereby accept the surrender of the Kybrei civilization in the name of the Sky Sword King of the Angel civilization. Ruyun, please read out the laws that a civilization that surrenders to angels must abide by. Tianren Captain Angel Ruyun, who had been standing on the left side of the throne, took a few steps forward and spoke loudly. As affiliated with the angels, you will abide by the following rules. First, you will respond unconditionally to the call of the angels. Second, you must never be an enemy of angels under any circumstances. Third, the enemies of angels are your enemies. Fourth, the allies of angels are your allies. Fifth, the will of angels cannot be violated. Sixth, don't be disloyal to angels. When Angel Ruyun finished speaking, the governor of Kybrei civilization was still a little unable to react. That was all, was there nothing else? At this time, Binghua, who was sitting on the throne, spoke. If you, the Kybrei civilization, violate the above-mentioned regulations, then you will wait to be wiped out from the universe by the angels. Archon Kabelbray below said yes repeatedly with some excitement. The noble Queen of Angels, the people of Kybrei are extremely grateful for the Queen's magnanimity. From now on, the sword of the angel will be our enemy of Kybrei. A towering silver-gray building, with dense crowds of people walking on the street, overhead is a projected track, with floating cars moving back and forth on it. Binghua wore a black caber-style coat with some white lines on it, and tight-fitting black trousers, which perfectly highlighted a pair of long legs that were in harmony with her body. Her black hair was tied back casually to form a long ponytail. Under the oblique bangs in front of her forehead was a pair of pure, jewel-like black eyes. Gently fiddling with a few strands of long hair hanging from his ears to his chest, Binghua held an unknown candy in his mouth, and the exposed length of the stick was gently pinched by his index finger and thumb. You can't see such a grand scene in the angelic civilization. Binghua opened her lips, took out the candy in her mouth and sighed like this. Queen, in such a crowded city, the living conditions of the residents are not as free as those of us angels. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 223. After Angel Ruyun finished speaking, he added another sentence. However, this kind of scene has indeed never appeared in angelic civilization, and it has a special beauty. Binghua and Ruyun were currently on a sightseeing rooftop dozens of meters above the street below. From here, you can just see the street scene and the flow of people below. Although there are some subtle differences between the Kybrei people and the humans on Earth in Binghua's impression, it does not prevent Binghua from recalling some scenes of his previous life. Binghua smiled when she saw Ruyun looking at it. The population of angel civilization was sparse, and most of them liked to live scattered. Except for the original city of angels, there would never be such a crowded situation as in Kybrei. Come Ruyun, eat one of these. It tastes good and sweet. Ruyun looked at what Binghua handed over and reluctantly stretched out his hand to take it. It was exactly what Binghua said was similar to a lollipop in his previous life. After some time passed, Ruyun finished admiring the scenery below and asked his queen curiously. Queen, if the Kybrei civilization did not choose to surrender to us angels, but chose to resist to the end, what would you do to them, Queen? Binghua paused while holding the candy in his mouth, spit out the lollipop in his mouth, and answered without any hesitation. I will launch a star destroyer strike on the planet, destroy the planet's ecosystem, and wipe the Kybers from the universe. Yun's face showed a hint of unbearable, and when Binghua saw it, he naturally knew what Yun was thinking. Yun, I understand your mood, and I will also express sympathy and pity to the ordinary residents of the Kybrei civilization, but as the king of the angel civilization, I will not be soft-hearted. This is a warning to other beings who intend to invade the Angel Nebula, and it is something that must be implemented to the end, otherwise the Angel Nebula will never have peace in the future. Not long after Binghua accepted the surrender of the Kebreans, the other two space-class civilizations that invaded the Angel Nebula were also destroyed under the leadership of the left-wing Guard Ran and the attack of the Sky Sword Legion. The remaining ones were willing to unconditionally surrender. This made Hua, who only dared to do things secretly, curse that these civilizations were all soft-legged shrimps. After all, they would not be able to get on the stage and could only scratch the itch of Kesha Binghua and others. And Kesha, who is busy with the construction of Merlot Heaven, also recently led a part of the Skyblade Legion to annihilate the minor unrest in the galaxy under her rule. Not surprisingly, there are shadows of male angels in many turmoils, but currently Hua is in the dark, Binghua and Kesha are in the light, and the Angel Nebula is too vast to fully investigate Hua's whereabouts. Angel Nebula, Sky Meteor Galaxy, Sakala Star System. In the dark space of space, a black meteorite with a diameter of several dozen meters is slowly drifting towards a light blue planet. After it flew not far from the planet's atmosphere, a violently burning fire cloud rose up. The meteorite, which was originally dozens of meters in diameter, was directly blown into countless fragments and fell into the planet's atmosphere. Most of the meteorite fragments were burned up by the friction of the atmosphere, but a small number of meteorites fell into the suburbs of cities or forests. A bipedal animal with strong hind limbs and short forelimbs, a vegetarian animal called a bipt on this planet, is eating fresh grass on the ground. But what the bipedal beast didn't know was that lying in the bushes not far away from it was a predator sound beast that was a punch bigger than it and full of aggressive appearance. It slightly opened its mouth with sharp fangs and exhaled a faint white breath. The next moment, its muscles tensed and it suddenly jumped out. When the bipedal beast noticed the movement, it was eating leaves and immediately ran away in alert, darting out like lightning. Seeing that the ambush failed, the predatory sound beast did not give up and ran straight to catch up. After a minute or two, the bipedal beast running in front suddenly ran into the edge of a large sunken pit. Due to the presence of natural enemies behind it, the bipedal beast panicked for a moment and rolled into the pit. It rolled until it hit a dark debris at the bottom of the pit. The bipedal beast shook its head and tried to get up, but the dark stone on the side suddenly cracked, and dozens of black tentacles with a diameter of about 1 millimeter shot out, piercing into the strong hind limbs of the bipedal beast on the side. Originally wanting to leave the bottom of the pit as soon as possible, the bipedal beast found in horror that he could not move. Then, a black unknown substance visible to the naked eye began to spread to the surroundings from the wound on its hind limbs punctured by the tentacles. After several mournful cries, the bipedal beast could no longer be seen on the spot, only a squirming black unknown substance. The sound beast that originally planned to pursue its prey at the edge of the pit sensed danger, turned around and prepared to leave the area where it felt it was dangerous. At this time, the black unknown substance at the bottom of the pit seemed to have noticed the movement of the sound beast on the edge of the pit, and began to squirm violently, and finally changed into a form similar to that of the bipedal beast, but there were some changes. The hind limbs are obviously stronger. The original forelimbs are no longer short, but are only a small circle thinner than the hind limbs and have grown sharp claws. Its mouth, which was originally only used to chew leaves, has become slender and has grown. The mouth is full of jagged teeth. Then I saw its hind limbs bend sharply, like a taut spring, and the next moment its 1 meter long body flew out fiercely, attacking the sound beast beside the pit. 10 seconds later, a dark creature bit into the corpse of a sound beast that was slightly larger than it and began to eat. I saw the flesh and blood on the surface of its body pulsing, and finally turned into several 2-finger-wide tentacles that pierced into the corpse of the sound beast at its feet. The still unknown black substance began to spread around from the wound where the tentacles penetrated the sound beast. Soon, the beast's body was completely wrapped in the unknown black substance, and finally merged into the black creature on the side. It was lying on the ground, letting out a low growl that sounded dangerous. Its body began to expand rapidly, its front and rear limbs became stronger, and its claws became thicker and sharper. Finally, after the violent changes on this black creature stopped, its body was more than 2 circles larger than before, and sharp bone spurs sprouted from its back. Its appearance has some characteristics of a bipedal beast and a sound beast, but it has become uglier and more dangerous. At this moment, a black unknown substance split from the body of the alien monster, fell to the ground, and sprouted countless black tentacles that wriggled forward. Then the alien monster turned around and ran into the forest, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. When Binghua suppressed the invasion of foreign civilizations in the Mir galaxy and made 3 quite powerful space-class civilizations surrender to him in more than a month, the news spread to the surrounding Angel Nebula. The civilization that was still a little bit ready to move had to weigh itself to see if it could compete with the Angel super warriors. Binghua, who returned to the Mir galaxy, also received a piece of news that was very important to him from his soldiers. The location of his father Eugenie and mother was finally found by the soldiers of the Heavenly Sword Legion. After attacking Tiancheng, Binghua secretly ordered his soldiers to go search for traces of his father and mother. Now, about half a year later, Binghua finally got news about his 2 elders. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 224. One of the most inconspicuous planets with life in the Angel Nebula received a very special visitor. A faint band of light was stretched to the limit and radiated from the depths of the starry sky. Amidst the energy surging in a ring, a Skyblade battleship appeared. After a while, some angel warriors flew out of the Skyblade and spread around the Skyblade to form a simple warning formation. Binghua walked out of the Skyblade and stared at the small living planet not far away, feeling an inexplicable feeling in his heart. Without letting the guardian angels follow him, the wings of the angel behind Binghua spread out to both sides and flew away from the Skyblade alone, turning into a blue stream of light and rushing towards the small living planet in front. Passing through the atmosphere, the light of stars filled the entire world, and the sea of clouds below was rendered with a layer of pale gold. However, this beautiful scenery was soon left behind by the ice. What came into view through the clouds was the lush vegetation covering the entire land and the rivers interspersed among them. Some tall herbivores were leisurely eating leaves in the woods. Even Binghua had to admit that the natural environment of this planet was very good. When it was still 1,000 meters above the ground, Binghua began to slow down, and finally landed gently on the ground and folded the wings behind her. Binghua's sharp vision could already see the looming white manor through the slightly swaying leaves. According to the information investigated by the Skyward Sword Legion soldiers, his father Yoni should be living in seclusion there. Binghua looked at the armor on his body, and with a thought, the micro-wormhole material transport was activated, and the armor on his body was replaced by a white long skirt dotted with silver thread patterns. After taking a deep breath, Binghua moved the hair from her forehead to her ears, revealing half of her covered face. A smile appeared on her face and she stepped forward. Inside the white stone brick wall is a row of beautiful flowers and plants in different postures. A black-haired woman is holding a silver kettle to water the flowers. Not far away, a sturdy middle-aged man with slightly white temples was lying on a chair, basking in the sunlight falling from the sky. If you water it every day, you will water it to death sooner or later. Yoni, who was sleeping on the recliner, said with half-open eyes. The black-haired woman turned around after hearing this and looked at her husband's leisurely look. Lying there every day, your whole body is wasted. Abandoned is a waste. Anyway, my old bones are useless, and Angel Nebula no longer needs me to worry about. I never realized that such a life is actually pretty good. Hearing this, the woman shook her head helplessly. Her husband Yoni had changed since he left the City of Angels, and his two sons also left them. He spends all day doing nothing and talking, and even the swordsmanship he used to practice has been wasted for many years. He likes to lie in the yard and bask in the sun every day. At this moment, a slight sound of footsteps reached the ears of the woman and Yoni, who was sitting on the recliner. Her half-open eyes suddenly opened, and the woman curiously looked up in the direction of the footsteps. The next moment, the expression on the woman's face changed from curiosity to surprise, and she almost screamed involuntarily. Binghua. Yoni on the recliner was startled after hearing his wife's words. He quickly sat up and looked outside the wall. When Binghua's figure in a white dress came into his sight, Yoni did not act like his wife. He made a fuss, but his eyes became extremely soft. After a while of greetings, Binghua was welcomed into the two-story manor by his father and mother. Binghua's mother kept holding her hand and kept talking about her concern about whether she had suffered outside these years. As for Binghua's father, Yoni, he only said lightly at the beginning, "I'm back," and didn't say anything else. Finally, probably after finishing her nagging, Binghua's mother left the hall, and for a while only Binghua and his father were left. "Father, how have you been these past few years?" Binghua looked at his father, who looked older but not as serious as in his memory. After thinking for a long time, he finally came up with this sentence. "As you can see, your mother and I live very well here without having to worry about anything. On the other hand, you have changed so much." Yoni looked at his daughter's face that was more heroic and majestic and sighed with emotion. He still vaguely remembered Binghua's innocent appearance decades ago. "Father, Mother, I came to see you this time because I wanted to take you to Merlot Heaven, which is the new angel gathering city of the angel civilization. This way you don't have to stay on this remote planet anymore. No, it's quite nice here. It's quiet. I enjoy this environment now and don't have to worry about anything anymore." Saying this, Yoni glanced at Binghua. "You won't be able to stay long when you come back this time, right?" When Binghua was about to say that he could stay at home for a while, he was interrupted by his father. "Don't force it. As the Angel King, you must have been very busy recently. After all, the Angel Nebula has not yet completely stabilized. So spend this time with your mother. Ever since your two brothers left her, she has been thinking about your safety." Binghua nodded heavily, indicating that he understood. A few days later, the Heavenly Blade battleship anchored in the starfield finally left. Binghua sat on the throne inside the Heavenly Blade and was still thinking about the scene of parting with his father and mother. "Take good care of yourself outside, and put your own safety first in everything. This will always be your home, and Mother welcomes you to come back and rest when you are tired at any time." Compared to his mother, Binghua's father seemed much simpler, with only one sentence. "Do everything within your ability." It's not that Binghua doesn't want to spend more time with the two elders, it's that the Mill Galaxy cannot do without Binghua's control. The angel ran from the expedition to the Steins will be back in the next few days. In addition, the basic construction of the Merlot Angel has been declared completed. The next step is the transfer of the Heavenly Sword Palace. In the future, the Heavenly Sword Palace will be moved to the Merlot Heavenly Palace. Binghua and Keisha had a tacit understanding with each other and began to let members of their respective legions come into contact with each other, because angelic civilization cannot be without a king for a day. And no matter who becomes the new king of angels, unifying the power of all angels is something that must be done. Time moved forward slowly, and decades passed quickly in the blink of an eye. After more than 10 years of baptism of time, the Angel Nebula began to slowly regain its former stability. During this period, Kesha and Binghua's contributions were undoubtedly huge. If the angel civilization is compared to a dual-sword swordsman, then Binghua and Kesha are the two sword-wielding arms, and the legions under their command are the long swords held tightly in their hands. During this time, my family is rushing for goods, so there may only be one update recently. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 226. A group of 5 angels flapped their wings behind them and flew through the empty universe. After a while, the 5 angels suddenly stopped. The leading female angel warrior stood in the starry sky, her eyes covered with a faint hazy white light. Applying for permission to enter Merlot heaven. Verification information passed, welcome Angel Yiling to return to Merlot heaven. A voice that only Angel Yiling could hear sounded in his mind, and the next moment blue ripples appeared in the void in front of him. A door more than 10 meters high, with a blue crystal-shaped metal door with golden wings on both sides, appeared on a black rock platform. The next moment, a blue light curtain lit up. Seeing this, Angel Yiling led her team into the light curtain without any hesitation. After passing through the light curtain, the world in front of them changed. Angel Yiling and other angels came to another starry sky, and then flew straight towards the artificial celestial body standing in the universe not far away. In the star field of the original Marrow star system, now called the Marrow Heaven, a magnificent space city built on the remains of a tens of millions of square kilometers of continents floats in the starry sky. Surrounding the huge irregular continental shelf is a silver-gray metal ring with blue lines on it. Using it as a supporting frame, a metal cone-shaped facility extends upward at intervals. At the same time, a faint white energy film wraps the entire continent. If you get closer, you can easily see the lush forests and mountains in the energy film. Of course, there are also rivers flowing with the source of life. Under this natural beauty, there are castles thousands of meters apart, with gorgeous and majestic appearances and exquisite reliefs carved on the white walls. After more than 10 years of development, various facilities in Merlot heaven have also become more and more perfect. Among them, Kesha's Skyblade Legion has taken over most of the Angel Nebula's defense and galaxy security work. Binghua transferred the Heavenly Sword Legion, which was used to defend the Mir Galaxy, the Skull Galaxy, and the Sar Galaxy, to the border of the Angel Nebula, and its combat direction began to slowly move closer to the border guards. Apocalypse King Liangbing has been focusing his attention on the development of space technology in recent years. As for his legion, he is mainly responsible for the observation and data collection of various galaxies in the Angel Nebula. Finally, there is the heavenly base King Hexi. After the establishment of the Marrow Heavenly Court, Hexi took the lead in the construction of the defense system of the Celestial City. He spent nearly 10 years erasing the existence of the Marrow Galaxy from the known universe and turning it into a place where only angels can do whatever they want. A special star field entering and exiting. In the Heavenly Sword Royal Court, which is now the center for dealing with external war matters of the angel civilization, Binghua was conceiving the final form of the new flaming sword, when suddenly an angel came to apply for permission to see him. Queen, the reconnaissance angels under King Apocalypse discovered traces of male angels in the Camel Galaxy outside the Angel Nebula. According to analysis, it is very likely that they are Huaye's subordinates who have been wandering near the nebula in recent years. Hearing this, Binghua put down the research in his hands and raised his head slightly to look at the guardian angel Ming who came to report. I see. Binghua just answered lightly, which made Angel Ming puzzled. When did his queen stop paying attention to Huaye's news? Ming, you come with me to the training ground first. Huaye's matter will be discussed later. Anyway, he can't run very far at this time. Yes, Queen Angel Ming nodded when he heard the words and put the doubts in his heart. Sky Sword Legion training ground. I'll swing my sword harder. Don't always attack according to the data in your mind. Otherwise, when you encounter an enemy with rich experience in actual combat, you will find a flaw and kill you in an instant. The spacious training ground is divided into several areas, all of which are filled with angel recruits being trained. The training of the Heavenly Sword Legion is very simple. The first step is to transfer the sword skills and angel aerial warfare techniques into the memories of ordinary angels. Then, after boring familiarity and training, these skills that take several years or even 10 years to master can be turned into one's own in just 1 or 2 years. Of course, there are geniuses and mediocre people in any civilization, and angel civilization is no exception. For example, some female angels with relatively high combat awareness often only need a few months to master aerial combat and certain sword fighting skills. Even though most female angels have memories of swordsmanship and angel aerial combat in their minds, they cannot coordinate their bodies well and can only use time to adapt their bodies to the rhythm of battle. Angel Ming followed his queen across the training field and came to the upper area. As soon as he entered this floor, Angel Ming saw 2 familiar figures at a glance. In the area in the middle of the hall, there was a battle platform blocked by energy films on all sides. At this moment, 2 female angels holding flaming swords were fighting fiercely. Sister Yun, just admit defeat. Angel Shuang opened his mouth and kept moving his hands. The inscription on the flaming sword lit up and the sword turned red. On the other side, the guardian angel Yun was in obviously worse condition than Angel Shuang, and his chest was rising and falling slightly. Don't think you can defeat me with the Queen's special flaming sword. After speaking, Angel Yun flapped his wings behind his back, stepped on the ground with his toes, raised his sword and rushed forward. Seeing this, the corner of Angel Shuang's mouth slightly raised, obviously in a happy mood, and he dodged to one side with ease, and at the same time waved 2 flaming sword energy to interfere with Angel Yun's attack. A few minutes later, with a clang, a flaming sword spun and fell to the ground. Angel Yun looked at the tip of the sword aimed at his neck and could only reluctantly admit defeat. I lost. Only then did the 2 angels see Binghua and Angel Ming standing on the side, and they quickly saluted. Queen. Binghua nodded slightly in response, and then asked about the power of the new flaming sword. After Binghua's improvements over the years, in addition to dark energy drive, a series of functions such as stellar energy absorption, flame bombardment import formula, thunder drive formula, and dark energy flame release were added to the flame sword. Among them, stellar energy absorption, as the name suggests, can absorb the ubiquitous physical light energy and stellar radiation in the universe, and is used to restore the injuries and energy consumption of the second-generation angels, greatly enhancing the endurance and combat capabilities of the second-generation angels. The flame bombing introduction formula gives ordinary angels the ability to launch flame bombing, but it requires the dark energy in the bodies of at least 5 angels to be powered, which is exactly the configuration of a team of angels. Thunder drive, this is Binghua's ability after simplifying his thunder tactics and burning it on the flaming sword. It can convert dark energy into thunder, creating an area of lightning to block, restrict, and kill enemies. The last dark energy flame is another way to use dark energy drive. It can release dark energy in the form of flame, plasma gas, which consumes less energy to attack. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 227. Queen, the new model of the flaming sword has extended the duration of my dark energy drive by about 1/3, and the combat method is also more flexible. Especially when dark energy is released in the form of plasma gas like flame, Sister Yun suffered a big loss at first. Although they just had a duel, the senior angel Yun lost to the queen angel Shuang, but this did not create a gap between the 2 sisters. Angel Yun just stood there a little depressed, while Angel Shuang looked excited and chattered to Binghua about his experience of fighting with the new weapon just now. Binghua nodded, that's enough. After obtaining the regular combat data of the new generation of flaming sword, Binghua left the training ground of the Sky Sword Legion and contacted his right-wing guard Angel Lan on the way, asking him to start recycling it in batches. Now in the Sky Sword Legion? Upgrade the Flaming Sword. Camel Star System, above Camel Star. King, those girls are chasing us again. We found dark messages left by the activities of female angels around this star system. After hearing the report from his subordinates, Huaya threw away the things in his hands, stood up from the stone he was sitting on, opened his mouth and uttered a curse word. As soon as I stopped, I smelled the smell and came after me. Are they dogs? Order down, get ready and we'll get out of here as soon as possible. Huaya had nowhere to vent his depression and could only hold it in his heart. In the end, he simply returned to the Tiangong battleship, a medium-sized battleship hundreds of meters long. It can be said that the King of Angels has fallen to such an extent that there is no one except him, Huaya, but until now, Huaya has not given up causing trouble for Binghua and Kesha, because he feels that he still has a chance to make a comeback. A point of light shot out at a speed exceeding the speed of light and turned into the shape of a Skyblade battleship. Immediately afterwards, 2 more light points followed and turned into the appearance of the Skyblade battleship, distributed behind the leading Skyblade battleship. Queen, we have arrived at the Camel system. Binghua, who was sitting in the main seat, held her cheek with her hands, changed the position of her folded thighs, and spoke softly at the same time. Open Tianren's reconnaissance system and connect the entire star system. Scan the surrounding star field to see if we can find the location of Huaye's headquarters. If you find it, don't hesitate to jump over there and use the firepower of the Skyblade to annihilate it. It's the Queen. The Skyblade captains of the other 2 ships replied loudly. Hey, you said we've been flying around the Angel Nebula all day long. When will we end? How do I know this? I have to ask King Huaye, but this kind of life is really hummed up. Who says it isn't? That was life in the past, but now it's escape. A male angel asked his companion on the side. He casually raised a topic when he had nothing to do. Obviously his companion had nothing to do, so the 2 male angels guarding the resource collection device started chatting. After a chat, they made a profound summary of their current situation, and finally attributed all the reasons to the female angel's rebellion. But what they didn't know was that at this moment, a Skyblade was suspended in the satellite orbit outside the atmosphere. Report to Sister Lan that traces of male angels and 3 small resource collection devices were found on the surface of the planet below. Angel Halen, who was sitting in the captain's seat, nodded and asked instead. Besides these, have you found any trace of the Hui group's medium-sized warships? Sister Lan, no, but we found traces of several original Tiangong battleships that jumped out of the star system. Sister Lan, do we want to chase them? What's the success rate? Angel Hai Lan asked in a deep voice, but her subordinate's answer made her a little disappointed. Sister Lan, because the jump coordinate data was not captured on the spot, the success rate of successful pursuit is less than 20%. Hearing this, Angel Halen waved his hand. Forget it, even if we catch up, it will probably be Huaya who throws a few things to distract us. First, annihilate the male angels on the planet below, and directly launch the Skyblade's orbital bombardment. After the attack, we will leave to join the Queen. The muzzle of the light spear on the Skyblade battleship began to aim, and then a dozen light spear-shaped rays several meters long were divided into 3 directions and shot toward the planet's surface. The male angels who were chatting and joking suddenly heard an unusual sound coming from the sky. Before they could raise their heads, there was a rumble and the ground around them was blown into pieces by a violent explosion of energy, flying high into the sky. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! A male angel shouted and tried to leave the area around the resource collection facility, but before he could flap his wings and fly, he was swallowed up by a violent explosion. Then the equipment that automatically collected resources was affected by the explosion, and the built-in energy circuit hub was destroyed. The energy exploded with a roar, and a small mushroom cloud slowly rose into the sky. After listening to the reports of each Tianren captain, Binghua twirled his fingers and muttered to himself with interest. Huaye, has this guy become smart recently? He actually knows how to attract my attention by throwing away abandoned objects. Just then a communication suddenly came in. Your Excellency, King Tianjian, please forgive me for interrupting. I am Yun Lan, the left-wing guard of King Tiankai. Binghua became a little curious when he saw that Apocalypse King Liangbing's left guard, who was under Liangbing's command and had met several times, was looking for him. What's the matter? You should be responsible for the internal intelligence of Angel Nebula. Why did you suddenly contact me? It's like this, His Excellency the King of Heavenly Sword. Our angel warriors who followed Huaye's traces have lost contact in the star system adjacent to you. It is estimated that the situation is in danger at this moment, so I would like to trouble His Excellency the King of Heavenly Sword to send angels to recover it. The remains of our sisters. It should be more than that, right? Otherwise, you can just contact Captain Tianren under my command, and there is no need to contact me at all. After hearing this, Yun Lan, the left-wing guard of King Apocalypse in the projection, sighed, and then revealed the reason. As expected of His Excellency, the King of Heavenly Sword, that's the case. Recently, we have lost contact with several pre-nuclear civilizations. One of the civilization's home planets is on the return route of His Excellency, the King of Heavenly Sword, so I would like to invite the King of Heavenly Sword. At that time, I can send my subordinates to investigate. Binghua's expression also condensed when he heard this. Okay, I understand. I will send a team of soldiers to investigate when I return. Thank you very much, His Excellency, the King of Heavenly Sword. After getting rid of Binghua, the left guard of Liangbing on the opposite side hung up the communication. In addition to the angel civilization living in the Angel Nebula, there are also many cold weapon civilizations, pre-nuclear civilizations, and even several aerospace-level civilizations. Although these civilizations cannot bring any substantial benefits to the angel civilization, they are like a barrier and serve as an early warning. The sudden disappearance of civilizations is not a small matter. Binghua feels that it is very necessary. Go check it out. A small meteorite rushed towards a planet with a faint gray light. When passing through the planet's atmosphere, most of the meteorites were vaporized, and only a few fell into a bare valley. Less than an hour after the meteorite hit the ground, a team of warriors wearing light exoskeleton armor arrived in the valley. What do you mean by that? Let's come to this place where birds don't poop to recover the fallen meteorites. I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't have to come here with you. Amidst the breaking sound of the exoskeleton armor, a little chatter echoed among the group of soldiers who came to recover the meteorite. In the Steel City hundreds of kilometers away from here, several scientific researchers sitting in front of the screen are also paying attention to this recycling operation. According to the energy detection radar, the meteorite is constantly radiating alien energy to the surroundings, and I have never seen this kind of special energy in my life. This is material that does not exist on our planet. It must be successfully recovered. Such a huge radiation source may be an unknown advanced energy that can change the status quo of our civilization. The researchers are discussing with each other the targets that the team in this screen needs to recover for this operation. But there was a female researcher who was restless and always felt that something bad was going to happen. Suddenly the team leader was in the middle of a recovery operation. The captain suddenly raised his palm, and all the soldiers suddenly stopped moving forward. The leading captain squatted down and grabbed a handful of soil with his right hand wrapped in a power glove and twirled it with his fingers. He found that the soil slipped from his fingers like sand, but the color was deathly gray, which looked extremely strange. Attention everyone, I have a bad feeling that there may be an accident in this recycling operation. Boss, Please stop talking. You are such a crow-mouthed person. You didn't tell me anything happened when it was fine. One of the team members said jokingly, causing a burst of agreement from the people around him. But the captain, who used to joke with them to liven up the atmosphere, now looked serious and had no intention of joking at all. Seeing that the surrounding soldiers were no longer joking, they finally realized that their captain was serious and quickly checked the weapons in their hands. Keep moving forward and pay attention to your surroundings. After speaking, the captain took the lead and walked into the dead gray land ahead. A group of soldiers wearing exoskeleton armor behind him also followed closely with weapons in hand. As a group of 12 people moved forward, a crater soon appeared in their sight. When the leader of the team came to the edge of the crater, his pupils suddenly contracted. There were no meteorites in the crater. There was only a wriggling mass of unknown black material several meters high. Through the camera on the exoskeleton of the recovered troops, the researchers in the research room also saw this scene, and they immediately let out a series of exclamations. Oh, what the hell is this? It feels so disgusting. Is this really a meteorite? Suddenly, the unknown black substance in the picture began to undergo drastic changes. The black material that originally looked soft began to expand and solidify. In just a few seconds, a small mountain about 7 or 8 meters high was formed, in the shape of a hill, wrapped in a brown carapace. It had more than a dozen dancing branches protected by carapace on the outside and small protrusions like suckers on the inside. The tentacles are half a meter in diameter. Finally, it suddenly cracked open in the middle of the monster's body, revealing rows of teeth arranged in layers like jagged teeth. Suddenly, the members of the recovery team felt an inexplicable fear rising in their hearts, and every cell in their bodies seemed to be communicating to their brains, escape quickly. I originally planned to update it twice, but later I found out that I couldn't code it, so there was only one 3,000-word chapter. I'll keep up the good work tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 229. Retreat. Retreat slowly. Don't disturb it. The leader of the team did not immediately order an attack, for fear of offending this strange creature that kept giving him a huge sense of crisis. But the next moment, the monster's tentacles, which were nearly half a meter thick, hit everyone where they were. Cursing in his heart, the leader of the recovery team quickly reminded everyone to take shelter, and then he also threw himself towards the ground not far away from him. Boom! The ground trembled slightly, and several depressions several meters long appeared on the gray-white ground. It was not seen how the monster moved, and it actually began to slowly approach the people from the bottom of the pit. Attack, attack me quickly. The captain got up from the ground, turned around and raised the gun in his hand to fire at the monster with dense tentacles dancing behind him. For a moment, there was a continuous deafening sound of gunfire, and large-caliber bullets filled with special propellant fuel were shot out from the barrel of the gun that was spraying fire snakes. The carapace on the monster's body was instantly embedded with hundreds of silver bullets about the thickness of a finger. The parts not protected by the carapace were even beaten to a bloody mess, with a burst of black blood splashing out. The monster was obviously very angry under the pain, and its tentacles danced even faster. For a moment, 2 members of the recovery team were hit by the tentacles without haste to dodge. The light exoskeleton armor on his body was deformed by the smash on the spot, and his whole body flew upside down several meters. It was motionless on the ground. Captain, no, we can't penetrate that monster's body at all. One team member yelled nervously. Seeing the display on the goggles that 2 of his team members had lost their life signals, the captain shouted an order to continue retreating. Everyone retreat back, Alvin, Hera, hurry up and use the high-power energy weapons you carry to delay its footsteps." Upon hearing this, the two members of the recovery team with metal backpacks on their backs looked at each other, quickly put down the firearms in their hands, and started to assemble a cylindrical firearm while retreating under the cover of everyone. As the cylindrical gun in his hand was connected to the wire extending from the backpack on his back, the indicator light on the gun also lit up at the same time. At this moment, the monster had completely emerged from the crater, and its outstretched tentacles pierced into the bodies of the two soldiers who had been killed by it. Just a few screams were heard. Another person in the recovery team responsible for covering was unfortunately attacked by the tentacles. One was thrown out, and the other was tightly entangled by the tentacles. Immediately afterwards, a burst of metal distortion and sound was heard from inside. The sound of broken bones. At this moment, the recovery team members who had assembled the cylindrical weapons in their hands immediately pulled the trigger, one half kneeling and the other standing. Only a slight buzzing sound was heard, two red laser beams flashed away, and two more scorched holes appeared on the corresponding monster. Seeing that the attack was effective in recovering the troops, the remaining surviving team members were very excited, thinking that they could finally cause effective damage to the monster. But the next moment there was only a burst of gunfire, and a few sparks exploded from the exoskeleton armor of the member of the recovery team who was holding a high-power laser gun, and then a bunch of blood splashed. The gunfire did not stop, but the members of the recovery team who were holding high-power laser guns just now were lying in a pool of blood with frozen faces. The exoskeleton armor on the chest was pierced by a bullet that struck from nowhere, revealing a bloody chest with a large hole inside. The leader of the recovery team did not expect this situation. The sudden hail of bullets caused heavy casualties to the remaining 8 members of the recovery team. 3 people were punched through the armor on the spot and died on the spot. 2 of the remaining 6 people had less air in and more air out. At first glance, they were not far from burping. Looking towards the direction of the attack, the leader of the recovery team had a look of disbelief on his face. I saw that around the weird tentacle creature, the members of the recovery team who had been hit by the tentacles, their armor deformed and their bones broken and died, stood up again at this moment. But at this moment, they looked weird and terrifying, with black blood vein-like things entangled in their twisted and deformed bodies and exoskeleton armor. The tremblingly raised arm still held a firearm that he was very familiar with. At this moment, his bloody fingers were tightly squeezing the trigger. However, because the bullets had been used up, there was only the crisp sound of an empty chamber. Is this a demon from hell? Under the impact of the successive deaths of familiar team members and the impact of this never-before-seen scene, the captain's inner defense finally shattered and was replaced by chaos and madness. Watching the captain suddenly raise the gun in his hand and fire at the monster, madly advancing instead of retreating. The remaining 2 uninjured team members shouted loudly, but it had no effect. In the end, he could only watch his captain being entangled by the monster's tentacles. After the monsters absorbed the flesh and blood of their companions, they did not let go of their thoughts. In the end, in fear and despair, the recycling team was destroyed in this recycling mission. But this is not the end. Darkness and chaos are already growing on this planet. Sooner or later, all life forms on this planet will become the nourishment for the evolution of chaos. The Tianren battleship was sailing on the return route, but this time it failed to catch Huaye's tail, which made Binghua a little disappointed. Speaking of Huaye, we can trace it back to the Battle of Tiancheng. According to analysis at that time, Huaye should be on his way back to Tiancheng. But before Huaye could rush back, the City of Angels had already fallen into the hands of female angels, and was finally disintegrated by Binghua, Kesha, Liangbing, and Hexi, the 4 angel queens. After that, there was no news from Huaye until Binghua discovered traces of Huaye's stay in the Kaibrei civilization. The Heavenly Blade battleship that was undergoing a jump voyage suddenly exited this navigation state and came to a star system along the way. "Queen, we have arrived." This is the civilization that the left guard of King Apocalypse asked us to investigate. But it is strange that Skyblade did not detect too dense signal fluctuations on this planet. Binghua didn't pay much attention to the angel's words below, and just gave instructions casually. Send 2 combat teams to investigate. If nothing happens, we will go back to Merlot Heavenly Court directly. Binghua's order was conveyed in an instant, and a few minutes later, 2 teams of 10 female angels left the Skyblade and flapped their wings to fly towards the nearby planet. A few hours later. What? You said that this planet is contaminated by a weird virus that has never been seen before, and there is not a single surviving life left. Binghua, who was sitting on the throne, looked shocked, never expecting such a result. Seeing the look of his queen, the angel responsible for the reconnaissance mission below quickly added, "Queen, I have collected some picture information on the planet's surface, and now I would like to ask you, Queen, to take a look." Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 230. A projection appeared in the void in front of Binghua, and scenes of extremely desolate and dead scenes flashed across. The picture should be from the subjective perspective of the female angel who previously performed the detection mission. In order to more intuitively experience the information uploaded by his soldiers, Binghua chose to watch it in an immersive way. The surrounding light began to dim and fell into darkness. The next moment, the scene around Binghua changed from the conference hall of Tianren to the cosmic space outside Tianren. A few hours ago. I think a commander should be selected for this mission, and I recommend Angel Ning. Responsible for carrying out Binghua's mission of detecting nearby life planets are 2 elite combat teams with Angel standard specifications. When the 2 teams met outside the Skyblade, in order to prevent the team from being confused due to conflicting instructions during the mission, one of the combat team captains took the initiative to recommend Angel Ning, who was more senior than himself, to take over the command during this mission. Agree. Agree. Then I won't refuse. Sisters, get ready. We will then set off to perform the mission. Seeing that there was no objection from Angel Ning took over the command. Sister Ning, we are ready, let's go and carry out the tasks assigned by the Queen now. Hearing this, Angel Ning no longer hesitated and spoke directly. Then set off immediately, target planet T-8564 Sakaz. The 10 angels flapped their wings together and rushed towards the nearby planet T-8564 Sakaz, like 10 silver meteors. About an hour later, the detection team led by Angel Ning finally successfully passed through the atmosphere of planet T-8546 and landed in a city on its planet. Sister Ning, it's so strange. This place is obviously a city, but why is there no sign of any life activity? A female angel in the team looked at the dense spire buildings and unusually neatly planned roads below and said doubtfully, I don't know, but it's a bit strange. I remember it was recorded in the database that the civilization on this planet should be in the pre-nuclear civilization period and already has a certain degree of cosmic detection capabilities. When we came, the Skyblade battleship did not have the ability to block the detection of this planet. Logically speaking, people should have been sent to contact us long ago. Angel Ning scanned the surrounding scene, then looked at the sisters gathered around her and flapped their wings, and finally came up with a solution. How about this? As a group of 2 angels, we sisters can freely choose a direction to carry out high-altitude cruise reconnaissance. If we find any residents or abnormal situations on the planet, remember to contact other sisters immediately. The other female angels present nodded, and Angel Ning did not need to give any instructions for the rest of the matter. Within a moment, the 10 angels had been divided into 5 teams, and each chose a direction to leave. The scenery on the Earth flew by under Angel Ning's high-speed cruise, but everything that caught his sight made Angel Ning feel a strong sense of uneasiness. Traffic roads were covered with wildly growing weeds, and the exteriors of high-rise buildings and houses were covered with a thick layer of dust, making them look dilapidated. It's strange, Sister Ning, we have flown for such a long distance, but we didn't see any animals on the ground. The angel who was in the same group as Angel Ning was named Jin. He was a recruit who had been in the elite combat team for less than 5 years. However, because of his outstanding personality and combat ability, he had a good relationship with Angel Ning. Angel Ning nodded when she heard Angel Jin's question. I noticed it too. At this moment, Angel Ning saw a group of black humanoid creatures rushing in one direction on the distant ground. Jin, there is a situation on the right front, go and take a look. Okay Sister Ning, I saw it too. Angel Ning and Angel Yin turned to the right at the same time, drawing an arc in the air and rushing towards the moving black spots on the horizon. Boom! A group of soldiers who were firing continuously gathered around several silver-gray armored vehicles covered with scratches. These soldiers have a shape similar to angels, but they have no wings. At the same time, they have a pair of small sharp horns that grow slightly upward on their foreheads, which is the unique symbol of the Sakaz people. Don't panic, maintain the firepower output. Where's the driver? Start the car quickly. A Sakaz man, nearly 2 meters tall and strong but not bloated, shouted loudly on the battlefield where gunshots kept undulating. As he spoke, the Sakaz man raised his gun with 2 rows of long silver-toothed barrels in his arms and pointed it at him. A flash of blue light was seen, and a circular wave of air surged from the muzzle. At the same time, dozens of meters directly opposite the Sakaz man, located on a straight line, a 2-meter-tall monster with knotted muscles, black unknown veins all over, and long sharp claws appeared on the chest at the same time. A big hole. The gun in the Sakaz man's arms made a sound of gas compression, and a long bullet casing was thrown from the barrel and landed on the ground at his feet. Captain, you have to take your time with it. That thing in your hand is specially designed to fight against those big guys who can't be killed. Don't worry, I know what's going on. The Sakaz captain replied calmly, and at the same time turned back and asked. How long will it take to repair it? This batch of supplies is urgently needed by the base. Captain, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, said the middle-aged Sakaz man who was squatting next to the armored vehicle holding a wrench and tools, sweating profusely. The captain didn't say much after hearing this. He just said loudly to the more than 20 soldiers around him who were firing continuously. 5 minutes of defense and 5 minutes later we're leaving. Among the alien monsters that were suddenly charging into the fire net, several monsters suddenly knelt down on the ground, their backs quickly swelled, and the next moment black tentacles shot out from the bursting flesh and blood to the surroundings, piercing 5 or 6 people. The same kind, and then dragged them towards the monster who was kneeling on the ground. The unknown black substance suddenly appeared, swallowing up the monsters that were dragged in, and then rapidly expanded in size. In just 10 seconds, 2 more monsters appeared among the monsters, who were more than 3 meters tall. They were wrapped in dark carapace. On one side was a strong arm and a right arm with sharp claws, and on the other side were several arms waving in the air. A deformed monster with tentacles. The monster let out a roar and took long strides like a tank pushing sideways towards the defending soldiers, ignoring the bullets hitting it. Oops! It's a chaos body. Disperse. The captain's face turned ugly. He quickly raised the gun in his hand and pulled the trigger at one of the charging chaos forms. After the deafening gunshot, a hole the size of a wash basin exploded in the chest of the monster, which the soldiers present called the chaos body. There were no internal organs inside, only wriggling pieces of pitch-black flesh. But the chaos body just roared and was not affected much at all. It hit the 2 unlucky soldiers on the flight path and rushed into the defensive formation. The situation reversed in an instant. The soldiers who had the upper hand suddenly became chaotic. At this moment, the ordinary monsters that had been suppressed dozens of meters away by fire also took the opportunity to rush forward. During this time, the special firearm in the hands of the Sakaz captain had completed cooling. he swooped to avoid the claws swung by the chaos body. After landing, he rolled forward, turned around and half-knelt on the ground, aiming at one of the chaos body's legs. The trigger was pulled. As the air between them surged, a blue light shot out and instantly penetrated the chaos body's thigh, breaking it into two pieces on the spot. One leg was broken, and the tall chaos body was unable to maintain its balance for a moment, and fell to the ground with a muffled sound. Seeing this, the surrounding soldiers took out small square bombs from their bodies and threw them at the chaos body that fell to the ground. With a bang, the scorching red flames exploded violently, and the heat wave caused distorted the air for several meters around it. The chaotic body roared in the flames, and its body was gradually burned into ashes by the flames. After finishing dealing with one chaos body, another chaos body that appeared at the same time had already overturned an armored vehicle. The middle-aged master who had said it would take 5 minutes before was penetrated by the tentacle of the chaos body's left hand. Seeing his subordinates fighting with monsters and chaos bodies, the captain was so sad that he just wanted to cut off his wrists and abandon his companions and supplies surrounded by chaos bodies and monsters to escape from the area. Suddenly there was a sharp sound in the sky that told of the approaching object. The next moment I just heard a bang. A shock wave spread, and at the same time there was dust raised high, and both monsters and soldiers were swept away by this shock wave. Only the chaos body still stood there and looked at the figure with white wings that appeared in the dust and let out a deafening roar. "Monster, it's unlucky for you to meet me. I, Angel Jin, have saved these natives." The Angel Yin, who was holding a flaming sword and wearing angel armor and a helmet, spoke very powerfully, but the chaos body obviously couldn't understand what she was saying. What kind of creature is this? This was the thought that came to the captain's mind at the moment, but before he could even think about this moon city, the unknown female existence with wings on its back came into contact with the chaos body. Seeing the chaos body rushing over without any fancy, Angel Yin jumped over its head, swung the flaming sword in his hand and easily cut off the incoming chaos body's tentacles. After landing on the ground, before the chaos body could turn around, Angel Yin had already arrived behind the chaos body, and the flaming sword in his hand slashed across the chaos body's body. The upper and lower parts of the body were separated. Only the legs and waist of the lower body of the chaos body were still standing. During the moment of confrontation between Angel Yin and the chaos body, Angel Ning also took action, easily surrounding the convoy of hundreds of indigenous residents. All the monsters were slaughtered. Angel Yin, who had just cut the chaos body in half and was about to join Angel Ning, asked the Sakaz natives here what happened to the planet, suddenly felt something moving behind him. Without thinking, Angel Jin turned around to check the situation out of curiosity, and instinctively pounced forward. Because of her wings, Angel Jin fell to the ground without shame. Only then did she look back, and then exclaimed involuntarily, "What kind of monster is this?" I saw that the chaotic body that was originally cut in half by Angel Ember, now had the black wound on its upper body squirming and stretched out tentacles connected to the wound on its lower body. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 231. As if challenging Angel Yin's worldview, the monster called the chaos body by the Sakaz people actually used the tentacles extending from the wound to reassemble the body cut in half by Angel Yin. Angel Yin looked at the chaos body that stood up again, and raised his vigilance to the maximum. Suddenly, abnormal dense bulges appeared on the surface of the chaos body. Angel Yin was startled and jumped back, several meters away from the chaos body. Distance. The sound of flesh and blood tearing sounded, and a dozen tentacles with black bone blades at the front shot out from the body of the chaotic monster, sweeping over the position where Angel Yin was just now. Looking at this scene, part of Angel Yin's face under the helmet visor showed a look of extreme disgust, because the monster named Chaos Body in front of her looked too twisted and abstract at the moment, and there were tentacles all over its body that made her uncomfortable. like a humanoid alien with ulcers all over his body and dozens of trembling tentacles growing all over his body. Just in time to try out the new function of the flaming sword with you. Angel Jin raised the flaming sword, and the next second the gaseous energy particles burning like flames burned violently on the sword. As Angel Jin swung in the air, an arc of sword energy that looked like burning flames flew towards the chaos body. The tentacles dancing around the chaos body rolled towards the incoming attack, but were burned to ashes on the spot by high-temperature energy particles mixed with dark energy and a certain amount of stellar radiation energy, and then hit the chaos body with unabated force. Just like gasoline meeting a flame, the chaos body's body area hit by the sword energy immediately burned and turned into ashes on the spot. Seeing that this attack was effective, Angel Jin did not hesitate to use the stellar energy stored in advance in the flaming sword, and swung out a few more sword energy. Finally, under the impact of the orange-red energy sword energy, the remaining chaos body turned into black ashes on the ground under the witness of all Sakaz and Angel Ning. Who are you? As the captain of this team that went out to search for supplies, he came to the vicinity of Angel Yin and Angel Ning immediately after the chaos body was eliminated, and asked carefully in Sakaz language. We are angels from the angel civilization. You should be the captain of this team. Long before carrying out this mission, Angel Ning and Angel Yin had learned about the Sakaz language from the Sky Sword Legion's database. Although they were not very proficient, they could barely communicate with each other. Angel Ning signaled Angel Jin not to speak yet, and she would be responsible for communicating with the Sakaz people, so Angel Yin could only watch Ning curiously talking to the captain of the Sakaz people. After some conversation, Angel Ning finally got the general situation of the Sakaz people on the Sakaz planet. The details of the Sakaz people named Kaiman were not known. But compared to Angel Ning, Kaiman's harvest almost made him faint on the spot with excitement. The two beautiful women with wings on their backs in front of them turned out to be angels in the myths and legends of the Sakaz people, gods high in the sky. Of course, these Kaimans also know that they are all farting. As residents of pre-nuclear civilization, the Sakaz people have escaped the ignorance of cold weapon civilization. Angels are just a higher-ranking civilization than them. Most of the top leaders of the Sakaz people know this. When the unstoppable chaotic body appeared on the Sarkerts planet, the Sarkerts government vigorously promoted to ordinary Sarkerts people that the legendary angels would come to save the Sarkerts planet. But more than 10 years have passed. Under the ravages of the chaos body, the population of Sarkaz planet has dropped sharply to the point where there is only one person left. The older generation gradually died, and the new generation of Sarkaz people slowly grew up. The so-called savior angel promoted by the collapsed Sakaz government showed no sign of appearing. Gradually, except for a few sects who regard the savior angel as their hope, most Sakaz people have forgotten their identity as a subordinate civilization under the protection of angels under the pressure of life. Kaiman is one of the few Sakaz people who regard the angel of salvation as their sustenance. Therefore, after Angel Ning revealed his identity, he immediately turned into an idiot fan and basically answered whatever Angel Ning asked. Kaiman, can you take us to your gathering place? I need more information about the chaos body. Angel Ning asked with the intention of giving it a try, but Kaiman spoke without even thinking. Lord Angel Ning, your words are my code of conduct. But in order not to attract the attention of the city lord of the gathering place, can Lord Ning and Jin cover their armors? Otherwise, with my position, I may not be able to lead the two beautiful angels into the gathering place to check the information about the chaos body. After resting for half an hour, Kaiman sorted out the convoy that had become chaotic due to the chaos body attack, and then led the team to start the vehicle and drive in one direction. However, there were two more hacked vehicles in the team. The hood of the robe covers the face and figure of the team members. Sister Ning, can we do this? Jin, don't worry. I have already told the other sisters our location. In order to complete the mission assigned to us by the Queen, we must understand the current situation of the Sakaz people and what the so-called chaos body is. Looking at Angel Ning's serious face hidden under her hood, Angel Jin believed Angel Ning's words and fell silent without speaking. Seeing Yin finally stop asking questions, Angel Ning also breathed a sigh of relief. Although she chose to follow Kaiman for the above reasons, she also had her own selfish motives. Although the various regulations of the Heavenly Sword Legion are not strict, they are still a formal militarized group after all. All angel warriors cannot leave their posts at will without special reasons. Not to mention that now is the critical time for the transition of the old and new orders of angel civilization. It has been more than 30 years since Angel Ning joined the Heavenly Sword Legion. During this period, he experienced countless battles, big and small, and almost died at the hands of cruel male angels several times. Finally, he survived until the moment of victory for the female angel. However, the invasion of Angel Nebula followed soon after, so Angel Ning, as an elite, once again rushed to the battlefield outside Angel Nebula. Now that she has finally left the Heavenly Sword Legion station and the Heavenly Blade battleship, she has come to the Sakaz planet to perform a mission. Angel Ning plans to experience the local customs here during the mission. I believe that the Queen will not let this trivial matter and blame her. After staying in the slightly shaking and trembling carriage for nearly an hour, as the trembling sensation disappeared, someone knocked on the carriage door. Ning and Lord Jin, we have arrived at our destination. Angel Ning nodded to Angel Jin, and the sight that came into view when she opened the car door from the inside moved their hearts. The thick, gray-black wall is more than 30 meters high and extends to tens of thousands of meters. There are dense metal brackets on the surface of the high wall for reinforcement, giving people an unbreakable feeling. At the top of the high wall, they are metal gun barrels extending out of the high wall and pointing diagonally towards the sky. This is what Kaiman calls the last paradise of the Sakaz people, the holy city of Karman, the last hope of the Sakaz people. Sorry everyone, I made a statement before that I may be busy recently and have no time to update. I am also working overtime today and don't get off work until 9:30. In addition, I have disabled hands and am slow to code, so I really don't have much free time to code. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 232. In front of the nearly 10-meter-high metal city gate, there is a simple bunker position. Inside, there are more than a dozen soldiers wearing black simple bulky metal armor and holding large-caliber heavy firearms standing guard. One of them walked out of the bunker and came to the front of the convoy. After opening the visor, he revealed the face of a middle-aged Sakaz man with a stubble that looked very vicissitudes of life. Kaiman, you are back, your team. As he spoke, the middle-aged man from Sakaz glanced at the team members who came off the convoy and couldn't continue. Finally, with a sigh, he raised his big hand covered with metal armor and patted Kaiman's shoulder comfortingly. This humming world. Cursing in a low voice, the Sakaz man turned around and signaled to his companions behind him that there was no problem. Seeing this, the soldier at the guard post pressed the call button and spoke into the communicator. Identity confirmed. Receive. A very cold voice came from the other end of the communicator, and the next moment the tall metal city gate roared and began to rise slowly, revealing the scene inside. There was no expected inspection, which made Angel Ning and Angel Jin feel a little surprised, but now was not the time to ask. Under Kaiman's greeting, everyone got back into the car, and then the convoy drove into the open city gate. What happened after that was simple. After entering Karman City, the convoy drove straight into the area behind the city gate that looked like a military garrison. Then Kaiman and the soldiers performed a simple handover procedure, and everyone in the team dispersed. Only the angels Ning and Jin, who were wearing torn black robes, followed Kaiman, and the three of them walked around the streets of Carmen City. The dusty streets, as well as the numb-looking and extremely thin Sakaz people in ragged clothes on the road. This is in sharp contrast to the strong, clean, and tidy Kaiman in front, who is wearing fine combat uniforms. Kaiman naturally felt the two scorching gazes behind him. He slowed down and walked with Angel Ning and Yin, and whispered to explain their confusion. Lord Ning and Yin, as you can see, Carmen is the last large city of the Sakaz people today, protecting millions of Sakaz people from the harm of chaos and infected bodies. But to maintain the survival of so many Sakaz people, the daily expenses alone are enough to bring the city to its knees. To avoid this situation, Ciudad del Carmen officials implemented a class distribution system 10 years ago. Wen Yanning and Jin couldn't help but think of the unreasonable resource allocation period between the male and female classes of angels under the Order of the Heavenly Palace. In the city of Carmen, it is divided into 6 classes from top to bottom. At the top is the city lord of the city of Carmen, who has the absolute right to rule the city of Carmen and the right to distribute materials. The second class is Carmen city officials. The existence of this class can lead a very comfortable life. The third class is researchers in the official scientific research department, and their salary is not bad, although it is not comparable to that of official personnel. Finally, there are the 3 lower classes. The biggest difference between these 3 classes and the upper 3 classes is that we need to take risks in exchange for survival needs. For example, I am in the soldier class and need to go out regularly to collect supplies and investigate chaos. If the burden is not too heavy, the body's information can basically meet the needs of life. Then there is the commoner class of Sakaz people who are the most common in the city of Carmen. They need to work in exchange for supplies and can barely maintain their daily necessities. The last class is mainly composed of disabled, sick, old and frail Sakaz people. They are unable to work and can only survive by begging and digging through garbage dumps. They live in confusion in the city that is extremely indifferent to them. Struggling on the edge of death. After listening to what Kaiman said, Angel Ning and Yin were completely unable to understand. It's incomprehensible that angels have never had to worry about food. Jin, have you forgotten that the Sakaz people are not angels? As ordinary beings, they need to take in food every day to maintain their daily consumption. After saying this to Jin, Angel Ning then faced Kaiman and said, Kaiman, you don't need to use honorifics to us, just call us Ning and Jin. After walking on the streets of Carmen City for more than 10 minutes, Angel Ning saw a passing chariot more than once. It was a vehicle covered with solid armor and equipped with heavy weapons. Finally, under the leadership of Kaiman, Angel Ning and Angel Yin arrived at their destination, a building that stood out from the surrounding houses. This is what Kaiman said: apart from the official place where chaos body information can be obtained, the Salvation Church in the outer city of Carmen City. There are some simple reliefs on the gray-black walls, and the giant floor-to-ceiling windows on both sides of the door are also painted with exquisite stained glass paintings. Walking into the open door of the church, Angel Ning and his party came to a large space with rows of wooden seats neatly arranged on both sides of the aisle. It came sooner rather than later. In the church hall, the bishop of the church was preaching to the sparsely seated congregants. We must believe in our God. The angel of salvation is watching us, and the difficulties now are just tests set by God. As long as you persist, the gods will lead your souls to the kingdom of God after your death. There is no hunger, no hardship, no exploitation of you. It is a truly ideal place. Looking at the preacher who was speaking nonsense to the believers in front of a large statue of a male angel, she murmured in a low voice, "When did we angels have the ability to take away souls?" When the missionary saw an acquaintance coming, he ended the missionary activity early. After more than 30 civilian believers who seemed to be living unsatisfactory lives left, they immediately faced the 3 Kaimans. "Kaiman, why are you here all of a sudden free? And who are these 2 beautiful ladies?" Seeing this, Kaiman quickly stepped forward and stood in front of Ning and Jin, smiling. "Soccer, these two are my friends. I came to you to find information about the old world." Creak. Two wooden doors were pushed open, and a harsh sound came from the door shafts. "This is it. This building used to be the regular research archives of Ciudad del Carmen. Later it was abandoned and became a small library. Later, the owner of the library could no longer maintain it and sold the building and everything inside to the church. All right. The things you want to check should be here. I won't accompany you since I have something else to do." After saying this, the missionary said hello to Kaiman and Ning and turned around to leave. Looking at the rows of paper books in front of her, Angel Ning cheered herself up, and it was time to search for chaos body information. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 233. Angel Ning gestured to Angel Yin, and the two women began to browse forward from both sides of the bookshelf, their eyes passing over the rows of books and file names printed with sarcasm characters. Because no one has looked through and sorted them out for too long, these files and books are covered with a layer of white dust, and most of them are randomly mixed together, which greatly increases the difficulty of accessing them. For a few minutes, all Angel Ning saw were theological books such as the Word of God, Genesis, and some useless ordinary experimental files. After a while, Kaiman seemed to have something important to do. He said goodbye to Angel Ning and left here first. The Great Carmen, Top Secret -00231. Angel Ning's eyes rested on the file marked Top Secret, and he pulled it out and opened it. There were more than a dozen pages of paper similar to report sheets inside. The beginning is a piece of paper writing an analysis report, the general content of which is as follows. After experiments and analysis, it was found that this alien virus with terrifying activity and mutation characteristics has great infectivity and a vitality that can be called abnormal. In the experiment, we used this virus to conduct many infection experiments. Each time the infection mutated in a different direction, one thing is certain, this virus will retain the excellence of the host and use it in the next host body. It can allow terrestrial animals to grow fish gills and have the ability to survive underwater, or it can allow vegetarian infected animals to have the strong physique, sharp claws and fangs of carnivores. And this kind of characteristic mutation fusion seems to have no upper limit. It is like a mass of chaos that can swallow up the excellent characteristics of all species and carry out mixed mutations. The general content is that the laboratory obtained an extraterrestrial virus and obtained some of its characteristics through experiments. Angel Ning looked through it later and found that most of them were experimental reports, among which Angel Ning saw a few incredible things. One of the strange monsters looked like a giant snake formed by countless vines intertwined together. Even though it is in human form, it has some of the characteristics of this beast, with sharp claws and fangs. In short, to sum it up in one word, it is bizarre. At this moment, calls for help from other groups suddenly came through the Angel's secret communication. "Sister Ning, are you there? We have encountered a big monster that Yun and I can't solve. We need your help, Sister Ning." Putting the file back on the bookshelf, Angel Ning could not continue to search for information about the chaos body. She looked at each other and walked out the door together with Angel Jin, who had received the communication at the same time. "Have you two beautiful ladies found what you want to know?" The missionary watched the two beautiful women in black robes brought by Kaiman to check the information hurriedly come down from upstairs, and couldn't help but ask casually. "Thank you for your help. My sister and I will leave as we have something to do for the time being. If Kaiman comes to us, tell us that we will look for him again." After saying this in the unskilled Sakaz language, Angel Ning and Angel Jin left the church. Seeing this, the missionary didn't take it seriously and just sighed. "I didn't expect that there are still Sakaz people who are interested in that kind of information." As the manager of this church, he knows very well what is in the database above. In addition to the theological books that were stuffed in after the church took over the place, and the regular books collected by the previous librarian, there are only some important documents left by the predecessor of this building. Boom! A dull loud noise echoed within a kilometer, followed by the crashing sound of a building collapsing. Two angel figures fluttering their white wings jumped out from the rising dust and smoke at high speed, landed on the top of a building and looked back. I saw a monster that was more than 30 meters tall and looked like a giant fish with 3 pairs of strong lower limbs. It was rampaging through the building complex, roaring angrily from time to time. The sharp bone at the back end of its tail was like a knife. The blade swings randomly and breaks the surrounding buildings. What kind of creature is this? It obviously has gills, but it appears on land. And this look, is it really a creature that evolved naturally? One of the two female angels, named Ling, frowned and spoke. At this moment, Angel Yun next to her shouted to be careful. Hearing this, the angel spirit looked up and saw a large stream of unknown green liquid spurting out from the monster's mouth full of sharp teeth, impacting like a green torrent. However, the flying speed of this green liquid was still too slow for Angel, and it was easily dodged by Angel Spirit and Angel Yun. But the building they were in before was watered through, and the white smoke was emitting, and it was corroded into a dilapidated ruin in an instant. It seems that this big guy is not powerless to fight back. Be careful with the kind of attack it just made. After speaking, Angel Yun raised the flaming sword and flew to the side of the giant monster, activating the new ability of the flaming sword. The next second, a layer of burning gaseous energy particles emerged from the blade of the flaming sword, surrounding the flaming sword like a ring of fire. Monster, eat my return gift. With a swipe of the flaming sword, an orange-red sword energy that burned fiercely like flames flew out, hitting the monster's back and exploding violently. A miniature fire cloud rose slowly along with a burst of black smoke. But as the fire cloud disappeared, the flesh and blood on the monster's back that had been lost due to the previous attack regenerated quickly. In less than 3 seconds, the monster recovered. As before. After making a cut sound, Angel Yun continued to wield the flaming sword, and the burning sword energy shot out one after another, hitting the monster's back. The sound was like exploding cannonballs. But obviously, for a monster with a huge body, Angel Yun's attack is just to tickle it, but it makes the monster even more violent. As a counterattack, the monster could only spit green saliva into the air, but as mentioned before, it was unable to hit Angel Yun, who was flying flexibly in the air. Angel Yun continuously wielded low-energy consuming long-range flying energy sword energy to attack, attracting the monster's attention. Angel Spirit took the opportunity to go in front of the monster and swing a briefly charged flaming sword energy. There was a loud bang, and the destructive energy formed by the star's radiation exploded in the monster's mouth. Its exposed mouth was instantly carbonized by high temperature and turned into fly ash. The monster seemed to still retain the sense of pain and kept shaking its head in an attempt to relieve the pain. At the same time, traces of green mucus dripped from the corners of its mouth, corroding the ground into small holes. As if it finally realized that it had been doing useless work, the monster immediately lay down on the ground and closed its mouth, letting the flaming sword energy bombard its back. Our attack is just to tickle it. Don't worry, I have already sent a message to Sister Ning and the others. When Sister Ning and the others arrive, we will work together to launch a flame bombing, which will definitely burn it down to nothing. Angel Yun and Angel Spirit reunited in the sky, staring at the huge monster lying motionless on the ground below, planning to wait for the arrival of other female angels to completely eliminate this monster. But at the microscopic level of the monster's body that Angel Yun and Angel Spirit cannot observe, under the influence of the special black virus, a large number of cells in the monster's body began to die, and new cells with different functions from before began to proliferate rapidly. At the same time, the original skeleton was once again new purpose bones grew, and cavities gradually formed on the back, as well as long tube-like tissues. The manifestation in the outside world is that the monster's body, which was originally extremely large, has grown again. Small holes with a diameter of half a meter began to appear on the back where the dorsal fin grew, and the entire back of the monster was densely covered. At the same time, 6 slender limbs similar to tails grew around its 6 limbs, dancing in the air like tentacles. Seeing this, the eyes of the 2 female angels in the sky condensed, and they changed again. This is the 4th time that this monster has changed during the battle. When Angel Ling and Angel Yun first met this monster, it was only more than 10 meters tall and was no match for the 2 women. But soon the size of the monster skyrocketed to more than 20 meters. After enduring attacks from Angel Spirit and Yun for a period of time, it rose to the previous height of more than 30 meters. At the same time, the ability to spit corrosive saliva appeared not long ago. Monsters have never been seen attacking like this before. After the monster's body changes stopped, it no longer looked like an aquatic fish at all, and it became a completely different creature. The monster stood up again, and 6 slender tentacles struck fiercely. The violent sound that broke through the air caused Angel Yun and Angel Spirit to have no idea of resistance. Angel Spirit and Angel Yun immediately moved around to avoid the 6 incoming tentacles. Angel Yun wanted to repeat her old trick and fly to the back of the monster to launch a long-range attack. But the next moment, the dense holes behind the monster shrank slightly, and then bone awls shot out from these holes. Angel Yun was so frightened that she only had time to hold the flaming sword upright in front of her to block it. The next moment, a huge impact force came from the sword. Angel Yun immediately took advantage of this and quickly retreated from the monster's sky, but then the monster's tentacles stuck up again. For a while, Angel Yun could only dodge, and had no time to save energy for long-range attacks. The angel spirits not far away were in a similar situation. For a moment, the 2 second-generation angel warriors were helpless against a creature from an indigenous planet. At this moment, several familiar voices sounded in the communication channel. "Ling and Yun, here we come." Several black spots moved from far to near and quickly arrived at the location of Angel Ling and Yun. One of the angels wielded a burning flaming sword and used its momentum to cut off one of the monster's thick tentacles. "Sister Ning, you are finally here." Angel Ling and Angel Yun looked excited when they saw the visitor, and a group of female angels quickly flew backwards out of the monster's attack range. "Is this the monster you mentioned in the communication? It looks like a monster, but it actually sounds like a monster." Angel Ning looked at the creature below that was waving 6 tentacles, looked weird like a fish, had 6 legs, and had dense holes on its back, and commented like this. "Sister Ning, that's not all. This monster was not strong at the beginning, but as Yun and I continued to attack, its body continued to change, becoming stronger every time. So Sister Ning, I suggest launching it directly. Use the flame bombardment to completely destroy it in one go, so it shouldn't be able to regenerate." With these characteristics, could it be that this monster is the alien virus-infected body described in the file, also known as the chaotic body? Angel Ning couldn't help but associate it with the file she saw not long ago. However, these things need to be considered for a while. What needs to be done now is to annihilate this monster that is chasing after him. There were 4 angels in total who came to join, including Angel Ling and Yun. There were 6 in total, exceeding the standard of 5 angels initiated by the flame bombing. 6 flaming swords intersected in the high air, and holding the hilts of the swords, the 6 female angels, including Angel Ning, focused all their attention on the dark plane to synchronize the calculations of the 6 flaming swords. The Sword of Flame has completed calculation synchronization, now begins to import the flame bombing formula. The import is completed, energy is being gathered. The sacred words engraved on the spines of the 6 intersecting flaming swords lit up, emitting a burning red light representing destruction. As time passed, the scorching red light became more and more intense, gradually dyeing the surrounding space red, and the blazing high temperature even distorted the air. When the preparations for the flaming bombardment were completed, the 6 intersecting flaming swords fiercely pressed downwards, aiming in the direction of the monster that was roaring because it could not hit the target. It's like a waterfall sloping down, or like a hanging red storm, eroded by the mixture of incoming hot stellar radiation and dark energy. The earth, the buildings of the Sakaz people, including the monsters roaring towards the sky, began to carbonize from top to bottom, and quickly turned into ashes in the high temperature and spread away. When everything was over, all that was left was a piece of charred, carbonized land that was smoking and covered with orange-red lines, and was rapidly cooling for nearly 200 meters. Finally solved. I was really afraid that the monster suddenly mutated again and even the flame bombing couldn't destroy it. Angel Ling and Angel Yun relaxed at the same time. As they had been fighting that monster for the longest time, they knew best the feeling of thinking they had succeeded, but the reality would slap you in the face crazily the next moment. After destroying the monsters, a group of female angels landed on the ground and began to exchange the information they had detected. Sister Ning, I saw many humanoid monsters along the way, but no sign of Sakaz people's activities at all. Yin and I met a group of Sakaz people and followed them to the city of the Sakaz people. We learned about the current situation of the planet. After meeting up with the 2 sisters Feng Chime and Rui, we immediately returned Skyblade. I need to report to the Queen on the current situation of this planet. Angel Ning said with a serious face to the other female angels present. Because she did not get the consent of Queen Binghua, Angel Ning did not choose to have official contact with the Sakaz people, so she only briefly checked the folk records. But even so, Sarkaz planet has met the standards for angel civilization to intervene. As the leader of Angel Nebula, if there are younger brothers in the jurisdiction who are in a life or death crisis, they naturally need to be rescued. Today is a big chapter. I have been working overtime recently, so I have been busy. After this period of time, I will not be on vacation.